Hello and welcome to FishUSA. My name is Steve Wascher, and today we're going to be tying an egg sucking leech. This is a very predominant pattern here on the Great Lakes tributaries, and it imitates a leech swimming away with a salmon egg or a steelhead egg in its mouth. It becomes a great pattern for those aggressive steelhead. Some of the materials we'll be utilizing today is a Daiichi streamer hook, a 1750 and a size 6. Now you can go down to a size, anywhere from a size 10 all the way up to a size 2 depending upon your needs. This hook has a straight eye, but you could also use a streamer hook with a down eye. We're also going to be using Spirit River hot beads. Today the color preference is a hot pink. Color preferences could range anywhere from oranges, pinks, chartreuses, reds, or anything else you may have available. You can also incorporate a colored conehead if you like. Today, but I'm using an extra large or a large bead, and that works just as well. And it's also weighted. The other thing we're going to utilize today for the tailing material, we're going to be utilizing Spirit River UV2 Black Marabou. We're going to be using black chenille. I have some medium copper wire. You can use silver, you can use gold, whatever, to reinforce that. And we're also going to be using a saddle hackle, a big fluffy saddle hackle. Today I'm going to be using a size 210 denier red thread. I'm using a red thread because hopefully it'll show up a little better on the video so that you can follow along with me. So let's start. I'm going to wrap the hook of the shank, or the shank of the hook, right behind the hot bead, and I'm going to put down a very secure thread base. I'm going to go all the way back, and my stopping point will be right above the point of the barb. Not the point of the hook, but the point of the barb. Cut off the excess. Now we're ready to tie in our marabou. Selected a plume, and what I like to do is I like to go in and I like to pull out the center vein when I do this. That removes a little bit of rigidity with the marabou and it gives the marabou a little bit more action. Now the one thing that's very important to mention is we want to have the correct size of a marabou tail. If it's too long, it's going to wrap around the bend of the hook. If it's too short, it's not going to give the fly enough action. So we already have a built-in measuring gauge, and that is the shank of the hook. I'm going to make this from behind the eye to the bend of the hook, which is about a little over an inch plus. So what I'm going to use is a two-hand exchange. I'm going to grasp the marabou with a pincer grasp. I'm going to lay it down along the shank of the hook, and it extends just a little bit past the bend, and that's fine. I'm then going to exchange, and this will be my tie-in point, right where I've grasped it. I'm going to cut a little bit of the excess off. Now I'm going to come in, and I'm going to wrap in loose spirals all the way up the shank of the hook to just behind the bead. I'm going to trim off any excess I have up there. We don't need that. And then I'm going to, I just broke my thread, I'm going to wrap back over that. And that secures that very well. Now at this point in time, if you have a very light head cement, it wouldn't be a bad idea to put a little dollop along there. That'll secure that a little more. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tie in about a 4 or 5 inch length of copper wire. What I can do is I can come behind my thread and pull it right in, and it sets in very nicely. I make one wrap and I pull it forward, and I want it to extend just past the eye of the hook, and I wrap it, tie it down in loose spirals. And then what I like to do is I like to take my tag end and push it back. That secures it so that the wire will not pull out, therefore making your fly somewhat more durable. Now we're ready for the chenille. What I like to do is strip off about 1/4 of an inch of the material, and as you can see close up, we have a 2-thread core on the chenille. So what we're going to do is we're going to tie it in right here where the chenille stops. We're going to tie in those 2-thread cores with about 3 or 4 turns of thread, we're going to advance our thread to just behind the bead. I'm going to put a half hitch in just to secure that and short my working distance of my bobbin. Now, utilizing a two-hand exchange, I'm going to wrap my chenille forward. So I wrap over the top with my left hand, secure it with my right, wrap over with my left, and I go right up the shank of the hook. And I stop about 1/8 of an inch behind the bead. I come behind my chenille, and as you notice, I'm wiggling my bobbin. This is a very dense chenille, so I wiggle it so that that thread will penetrate down through there and secure it. Then I pull my chenille back, and I make 2 or 3 wraps in front of it. I go in with just the tips of my scissors, and I cut off the excess. Now we have a nice chunky body. Now I'm ready for my hackle. I'm going to take my hackle and I'm going to pull back a few fibers. I'm going to take, and at about a 45-degree angle, I'm going to slide that stem underneath there, right behind the bead, make 2 or 3 wraps. I take the tag end of the stem once again and I pull it behind, secure it. Now the one thing I have to note is the shiny side of the hackle, or the face side of the hackle, always faces forward. Next I'm going to secure this with a pair of hackle pliers. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap back in a relatively tight wraps. I'm going to make 2 wraps in succession, one behind the other, right behind the bead. It'll make it a little denser. It'll move a little bit more water. Then in an open spiral, I'm going to wrap toward the rear of the hook. Keeping my wire out of there. Saying a prayer that doesn't come unattached. Alright, so now I've wrapped the body portion of this with the hackle, and I'm ready to secure it with the wire. So I come in with my wire, and I make 2 wraps around the tip of that hackle stem in the back. Putting a lot of pressure on my wire, I wrap forward in an open spiral, and that'll secure the stem of the hackle. Now, once I'm up behind the bead itself, I'm going to make about 2 or 3 turns with the wire to secure it. I'll then take and right behind the wire, I'll make 2 or 3 wraps. And then I'll pull everything back and make 2 or 3 wraps in front. I'll then go back and snip off my tag end of my hackle. I come in with a pair of toenail clippers, and you're gonna save your scissors a little bit of use by a 99-cent pair of toenail clippers to cut that wire versus gnarling up your scissors. I pull the material back, I make a couple more wraps, and then I come in with my whip finisher, and I give it about 5 wraps right behind the bead. And I always double whip finish every fly that I tie to secure it. Second whip finish. I pull it really taut to make sure everything's there. If you'll notice, I'm trying to rotate that body and it goes nowhere. It's very tight, it's very secure. I come in, I open up my scissors just a little tiny bit, and I follow my thread right up to the body. I cut off my thread. Then I apply a dollop of head cement right behind the bead and let that saturate the body. You can tie this fly in a number of colors. Various other color combinations that work great are, you can use all white, vary your cone head or your bead head size. Purple is very good, olive, black, any combination with a grizzly hackle in various tails are extremely effective. For FishUSA, I'm Steve Wascher. Have a great season.